We begin with a stunning news statement from Donald Trump out on the campaign trail last night when the former president said he would be the protector of women, quote, whether the women like it or not. The comments could backfire for Trump, who has faced decades of allegations of abuse from multiple women. And of course, it was the former president who placed 3 justices on the Supreme Court, which overturned Roe versus Wade, sending the question of abortion rights back to the states. Here's what Trump had to say.
4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. So why? They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. Pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Today, we will be leaving Wisconsin, heading west. And I'll be obviously in 3 states again today, talking with the American people about the stakes of this election and the opportunity that we, the American people, have to chart a new way forward. I will comment on the former President Donald Trump's remark about women and whether they like it or not. And listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies. And this is just the latest on a series of reveals by the former president of how he thinks about women and their agency. Whether he has said, as he has, that women should be punished for their choices, whether he has talked about his pride in taking away a fundamental right from women, whether it be how he has actually created a situation in America where now 1 in 3 women lives in a Trump abortion ban state and has legal restrictions on the right she rightly should have to make decisions about her own body. The other point I will refer to about in the last many hours is the Speaker's comments about the Affordable Care Act. Look, I've been saying throughout this campaign, be very clear that among the stakes in this election are whether we continue with the Affordable Care Act or not. It has been a part of Donald Trump's agenda for a very long time. He has made dozens of attempts to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And now we have further validation of that agenda from his supporter, the Speaker of the House. And what that would mean for the American people is that insurance companies could go back to a time when they would deny you coverage for health insurance based on pre-existing conditions such as you being a survivor of breast cancer, asthma, diabetes. And what I know is that the American people, regardless of who they're voting for, know the importance of the Affordable Care Act, as it is also called Obamacare, in terms of expanding people's coverage to health care based on a fundamental principle that I hold deeply. Access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. So there's still a lot of work to do, but each day I think that there are also indications that we are receiving from my opponent that verify, validate, and reinforce the fact that, one, he is not going to be fighting for women's reproductive rights. He does not prioritize the freedom of women and the intelligence of women to make decisions about their own lives and bodies. And health care for all Americans is on the line in this election as well. I'll take your questions.
Dan? Oh, yeah. You know, since the beginning stages of your campaign, you've described yourself as an underdog. That language is gone from your speech now. Has something changed in how you're feeling?
No, listen, I am putting it all on the field. And it's going to be a very tight race. And I'm running like the underdog, because we are. Donald Trump's been running for the last decade. I've been in this race about 3.5 months. And the stakes are so high. But I've been saying for quite some time, regardless of what the polls say, we are going to win. I do believe that. Because I do believe that this is a choice about 2 very different directions for our country. And the choice being offered by Donald Trump is about going backward, about a constant emphasis on degrading the American people and our capacity, versus a track that is about bringing the country together, knowing we have more in common than what separates us, and we should have a plan, which I do, to actually get things done, including bringing down the cost of living for people, investing in our small businesses, expanding access to health care, investing in American industries, including the future of American industries and American workers. So there you go.
Well,
So you talked about what the former president said being offensive to women.
I think it's offensive to everybody, by the way.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
What, the sort of hyper-masculinity that he is talking about, what do you think about it possibly resonating with men and male voters specifically?
You've been following me, and you will see that in the tens of thousands of people who attend our rallies, which is an opportunity to talk about the issues, to talk about the future of our country, right? There are men, women, young people, people of every race, every background. One of the points I think that is a point of pride for everyone who attends, and including myself, is that our campaign really is about bringing people together, people of very different and diverse backgrounds, around a common theme that is about love of country, defending the Constitution of the United States, and investing in our future, and rejecting the notion that we are divided or that should be acceptable, that we would be divided as a nation. So I'm very proud to have the support of men, women, young people, people of every background.
Ebony?
So we know we have 5 days into the election. How are you going to continue to draw the contest with former President Donald Trump, specifically with the undecided voters, as the pool is really shrinking now?
I will continue, as we will do today, as we did yesterday, and so on, to talk with people where they live. So again, here in Wisconsin, heading to Arizona, heading to Nevada, to talk with people about issues like how we're going to deal with price gouging, corporate price gouging as a way to deal with grocery costs, how we're going to invest in small businesses and expand access to capital, how I will give first-time homeowners a $25,000 down payment assistance if they are a first-time home buyer to help them get their foot in the door. These are the issues that the American people want to talk about, because these are the issues that affect them. These are the issues they think about when they're sitting at their kitchen table or when they're trying to go to sleep at night. And what I know is that they want a president of the United States who, as I say, will walk into the Oval Office with a to-do list and not an enemies list. And so that's what I will continue to do over the course of these next few days, to let folks know that I see them, I hear them, and I'm prepared to address their challenges with a plan that is about getting things done.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, can you just do that?
All right, that was Vice President Kamala Harris addressing reporters in Madison, Wisconsin. She was responding to former President Donald Trump's comment last night at his rally that he is going to be the protector of women, quote, whether the women like it or not, end quote. The vice president just a few moments ago pointing out that she thinks that Trump's comments on women are not just offensive to women, but, quote, offensive to everybody. I want to go back to our campaign reporters who are covering all of this. Eva McKend is out there in Arizona. Christian Holmes is with me here in Washington. Eva, your response to what we just heard from the vice president, I mean, there was, out on the campaign trail over the last 24 hours, there was sort of this back and forth over garbage. It started with what the comedian said at that rally at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night, calling Puerto Rico garbage. And then there was the president's gaffe more than 24 hours ago or so. And then, when the Trump campaign thought that they had something, they were sort of, they thought they had the tiger by the tail here, with Trump climbing into a garbage truck with his name on it and everything. Then he makes this comment about women. And you saw the vice president just seize on it a few moments ago.
She did, Jim, because clearly she was setting the tone for the day with issues where she feels especially comfortable. So as it relates to connecting with women on this issue of reproductive rights, and then also talking about health care more broadly, which has become so central to this campaign. And the hope is that it resonates in states like this one, in battleground Arizona. When President Biden won in this state in 2020, it was just by a little more than 10,000 votes, a remarkable feat for a Democrat. Hadn't been done since Bill Clinton in the 90s. And it was due in part to the winning Biden coalition that include Latino and Native American voters. And so what we see from the Harris campaign is them trying to replicate that strategy, this multiracial coalition, but also running on the strength of this argument of reproductive rights. Los Tigres del Norte, excuse my Spanish, it's the best I could do. They're performing tonight here in Phoenix, and then later on she's going to be joined by Jennifer Lopez in Las Vegas. And you know, the way that she's messaging to these Latino voters about her opportunity economy, for instance, it's very much grounded in talking about the family. So clearly she's trying to make the cultural connection there. And I'll end with this, Jim. I'm very curious to see how she talks about the issue of immigration in this border state. You know, she often pushes the bipartisan border enforcement bill that doesn't include a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants in it. But you have immigrant organizers here on the ground that are canvassing for her, working on her behalf, and she'll have to speak to those communities as well. Jim?
Yeah, and the Harris campaign with that out, that Spanish language ad out this morning, targeting those comments about Puerto Rico made at the Madison Square Garden rally. And Kristen Holmes, your response to what we just heard from the vice president there, they obviously saw a moment to sort of shift the narrative, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they saw the same moment that Donald Trump saw, right? I mean, for 3 days, we talked about the jokes that were told at that Madison Square Garden rally, the vile, racist jokes leading up to it. Then the narrative was flipped because Joe Biden had that gaffe referring to Trump supporters, however you want to break it down, as garbage. They seized on that. And now you're seeing Kamala Harris take to the press to reiterate the remarks and repeat the remarks that Donald Trump said last night. I mean, there's a reason that they're all doing this. They want to amplify what the other side is saying. Kamala Harris wants anyone who wasn't paying attention last night to know exactly what Donald Trump said at that rally. The best way to do that isn't necessarily always just through social media and cutting clips, but also by holding a mini press conference in order to pay attention, to shine a light on those remarks. And as Eva said, a lot of this is reaching out to a place where they feel comfortable. They are still trying to secure as many women voters as they possibly can. Donald Trump has a problem with women. Kamala Harris has a problem with men. They are trying to get as many of their demographic that already support them out to the polls as quickly as possible and get them revved up so that they actually show up either for early voting or on November 5th. And this is all a part of that. Donald Trump sitting in a trash truck, that is because he believes that the messaging around your supporters are garbage, I'm putting that in quotes, is positive for him, that it can get people riled up, it can get people to the polls. Kamala Harris's team clearly believes that the language that Donald Trump used last night will do the same for her side. We are in a last-minute sprint here, and everybody is grasping for votes because both sides understand that this decision, this race, is going to be determined in the margins, Jim.
Yeah, it's very tight. All right, Eva McCann, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much.